Now go home and get your fucking shine box.
This is it.
Good evening, everyone.
No, we don't do that anymore.
I was talking to you though.
Didn't realise.
I was trying to kick off the conversation because no one was talking.
Do you know what is funny?
What?
I felt someone snuck into my room last night.
Who?
'Cause my plugs. So I set my alarm. I used my Google Home to set my alarm, and then I woke up late because my alarm didn't go off, and I didn't realize until I came back home after work that the plug had been turned off from the wall, and it had been turned off from my Google Home and from my phone charger, which makes no sense. Obviously, I didn't unless I did it in my sleep. So I went to bed at like 3 and woke up late. I was meant to wake up at 7:30, woke up at nearly 8:30 when I'd work at 9. And so unless in those 5 hours, whatever, I woke up and decided to turn off the plugs at the wall for some reason, just those 2 plugs. Then something else.
What's someone stuck into your room though?
I don't know. All my flatmates have gone home, but what? I don't know what the other explanation is. I feel like I need to film myself sleeping now, so I can always know what's happening.
I've got some recordings of you sleeping.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. It's just very weird because I didn't think about it when I woke up. I just thought, oh, no. What I thought when I woke up was there's been a power cut. I was like, oh, how unlucky. The one time, because I finished work at 1 a.m. because I deliberately took an early shift because I just wanted to work more this weekend before I go home. So then the one time I was going to have like a few hours sleep before I needed to get up, there's a power cut and my alarm doesn't go off. But then not until I walked in a few hours ago, I saw it was unplugged. It was turned off at the wall. So what's going on? Like something mysterious, something ghostly. I don't know.
Matty stole one of my chargers.
What?
Matty came into my house and stole my charger.
Today?
Yeah.
Why?
I needed it.
You have a different phone. You have a different phone.
I have an iPhone.
Matty's got an iPhone.
Oh yeah, it's an old iPhone. Oh yeah.
So I left that at like my brother's house. Came home today, I was on like 6%. I won't have like a charger for like the next 2 days. So I was in dire need and he helped me out.
Makes sense, to be fair.
Friend. Sure gets my dick hard.
I've been wanting to drop that line a few times. When I took this shift, because I swapped with some girl, I needed to use that line, but you don't know who's seen Step Brothers these days.
Yeah, to be fair, you might if you say it to a girl and
then if you yeah. And you don't have to be like, to quote Step Brothers, and then it's just not cool. You have to just do the quote. You can't say, oh, to quote Step Brothers. Yeah, you just have to say the quote and hope it lands.
Like just then.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
To quote Step Brothers, you know, it really gets my dick hard.
Well, in the words of who is it?
What's his name?
Adam Scott.
Yes, Adam. What's his character's name?
Dale.
No, it's not. No, Dale's the main character.
Yeah, it's Dale Brennan. It's Dale. It's Brennan's brother. Brennan has a man.
Yeah.
Oh, what's his name in it? What's Brennan's
Brennan's brother. Brennan's brother. He's very successful. Real estate agent. What is his name? We must say his name on the real estate agent advert.
Sings Life Size Baby.
Derek.
Yes, Derek.
Yes, Derek.
Derek's even more of a douchebag than you are. No, a bigger asshole than you are. I think it's something like that.
Derek. What was the theme? Oh, yeah, it's Christmas. Christmas movies, but not. Actually, it might be controversial. A lot of people think Die Hard just is a Christmas movie, just like straight out. They'll just be like, yeah, it's a Christmas movie. There's no like what we've kept it. It's like Christmas movies not about Christmas. I think that's what we said. But a lot of people are like, yeah, Die Hard's just like the Christmas movie. Then probably the best Christmas movie ever. But yeah, don't know. But yeah, Christmas movies not about Christmas. In Bruges versus Die Hard. In Bruges, guilt stricken after a job gone wrong. Hitman Ray and his partner await orders from their ruthless boss in Bruges, Belgium, the last place in the world Ray wants to be. It's true. It's very funny. Matty, this is your favorite film of all time. What was it like rewatching it this week?
Oh, excuse me. My mum just made me a fajita, and I feel like I'm on an episode of Hot Ones. It's a dream come true, to be honest. It's been how many? Has it been 2 years? I think it's been over 2 years that I've been waiting to do this on this podcast. To be honest, it's a
Bit weird considering the podcast only started like 18 months ago.
Yeah,
Actually,
well,
no,
still,
probably like 15.
I was
No,
pre-excited.
21.
All right, 18 months. I've been waiting for this. You dickhead. Mate, my mouth is tingling. And I think I could have probably linked this film better to like any other category we've had ever since than Christmas, to be honest, because I don't think it's a Christmas film at all. Apart from it snows at the end, but I feel like that's something it always does in Bruges. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited, and I didn't think that this would actually happen. So I'm just thankful that I got to have this experience and I get to break down the film. But the only sad thing is it's probably going to lose to Die Hard now, but that's okay. I feel like it's sort of a higher quality of acting, even if it's not as like considered a national institution, if that makes sense.
Ross, In Bruges. What do you think?
I think it's really funny. It's like well, I think I think in terms of like entertainment factor, this is probably like the most entertaining week we've had on the podcast with the 3 films we've picked. And like Die Hard and In Bruges are both, especially In Bruges, are both films where like it's very like subtly funny, and it's I mean they're Irish, but it's like that kind of like kind of British humor, if you know, like the kind of dry humor that, like, yeah. And I think Colin Farrell and Ray Fiennes especially are really funny in this film, and I really rate their funniness. So yeah, I actually think it's really funny. So no, but I really enjoy it. It's a film you can enjoy from start to finish as well, and there's never a dull moment around when Colin Farrell's on your screen anyway. So that's pretty great.
I feel like mine and Mason's first viewing of this film wasn't conducive to a good experience. Sitting there in Matty's raucous Hall's household with eggs being thrown at walls and glasses smashing and people screaming "frag out" in between scenes. I could really follow what was going on. You know, couldn't capture, couldn't appreciate the vibe it was going for. But I think this time around, I kind of got it. I got why Matty really rates this film highly. Basically, was that a similar experience for you second time around?
Yeah, it was a very different experience this time around. I could actually hear the film, so that was always a benefit. But like you said, I enjoyed it a lot more this time around. Where, like you said, when we watched it the first time, I remember Matty sitting there really excited and happy for us to watch it. Like he was showing us like his projects, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll see what it's like. And then just having that going on quite literally behind the wall was just insane. So I could never watch a film in that circumstances ever again. But this time, yeah, it is a really good film. Like I said, I can understand why Matty does enjoy it as much as he does. It's just something about just being in little European cities in these films that just always just kind of slaps. It always just gives it a good vibe as well.
Categories. Actually, no, I haven't said what my actual thoughts are, and then it's good. It's I feel like the most interesting or the most shocking thing was just how seamlessly it was able to just go between different tones. Like it's like consistently funny, but it can be funny in 1 second and then just flip to something really sincere and emotional in like a moment with Colin Farrell's character, like the kind of trauma that he's going through, and the like friendship between him and Brendan Gleeson in a really weird way. Like it actually feels sincere and authentic, and you actually feel for these characters whilst managing to be funny all the time and being effective as like a crime film in certain other instances. So I feel that was kind of most impressive thing. It was just going between lots of different tones, but it all worked perfectly together. I feel like there's part of that in this director. I've only seen this from him. I think it's Martin McDonagh and 3 Billboards, which obviously was big at the Oscars a few years ago. There's kind of a similar energy in that the collision of different tones going on that film. Although I think I much prefer this one on a second watch. But yeah, let's get in the categories. Oh no, because I haven't even talked about Die Hard. Matt, you didn't remind me. Die Hard. An NYPD officer tries to save his wife and several others taken hostage by German terrorists. Terrorists. But are they terrorists? Don't know. During a Christmas party at the Nakatomi Plaza in Los Angeles. Iconic film, legendary status. It's been imitated. It's what I reckon it's like, I think like Die Hard, Heat, Pulp Fiction, and a few others are like examples of where they kind of inspired a whole slate of films that were just trying to capture the same vibe. Often just like Die Hard, where's the joke? It's like Die Hard, Speed is Die Hard on a bus, Cliffhanger is Die Hard on a mountain or cliff or whatever. And yeah, it's just no one's ever been able to repeat the success of this film to the same level, but they've been trying to for 32 years, 33 years since it came out. But Ross, this is your first time watching Die Hard. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I had to put high expectations, of course. And it completely lives up to it. It's probably like one of the most entertaining films of all time. It's just from start to finish, just the action, the entertainment is like amazing, and you know it's it's timeless as well. I think a lot of films like from the 80s, they wouldn't. I mean, they don't like stand up. Like, I don't know, like Ghostbusters is a good film, but in terms of like being timeless, it's very like 80s-y. But this one, I feel like the exact same film could come out today, and it would still be just as entertaining. And I think it's so well, like everything about it is so well cast as well. You know, Bruce Willis is perfect in that role, and Alan Rickman is such a good villain, and everything like that. But it throws in the comedy as well to keep it's got the action being entertaining, but it throws in the comedy as well with like, especially of like Argyle and that kind of side of it. So yeah, I really rate it, and just as you say, it's I think it's so like highly like quoted everywhere. Like you watch a TV show and there's always someone talking about it. Like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's Jake Peralta's favorite movie, and they go on about it like every other episode. And I don't know why it's taken me so long to watch it, but yeah, it's I really enjoyed it.
There's now some Disney Plus. It's funny you say about aging really well. It just occurred to me like there's no racism or homophobia, I'm pretty sure, in this film. Is that right? That can't be right. There's usually like a few bits where it's like, oh, that's why it's the 80s. I feel like there was actually nothing.
His best friends are like Argyle and Sergeant
Yeah, no,
Patton.
the black people are actually doing important stuff in this film, and it's not even about them being black. It's weird. But yeah, there's like not even like a throwaway line, like being like, oh, no. I think the only thing was like the Pearl Harbor joke, but the Japanese guy makes. That was a bit like, oh wow, you really went. That was even closer to the event than it is now, and even now you're like, oh, that's a bit dark, but that's not the typical example of the stuff you find in these films. It's usually something like glaringly bad, like even like Step Brothers. There's so much like aggressive homophobia in there that they just wouldn't do now. But yeah, aside from that, May, you've seen Die Hard before, I think. You know, everyone, wow. I don't think Mason has either, so this is cool. Mate, what do you think then?
I think I've seen every other Die Hard apart from this one, to be honest. And yeah, when I watched it today, I hadn't seen it at all before. And yeah, to be fair, I liked it quite a lot. And it was nice to see Alan Rickman in it as well. Because I haven't really seen, I think I've seen any of his films he's in apart from the Harry Potters. So it was nice seeing him play a different character.
And Love Actually.
Oh yeah, no, that's true. Actually, he's good in that. I still wanted to do the Snape voice though. I feel like that would have made the film better. Or just put like Snape into just lots of different iconic films. But no, yeah, as an all-round kind of like action film, and you can see how it's like inspired a lot of other films. Obviously, all the other Die Hards. But then there's 6 of them now. Yeah, I think there's 6 of them. And also kind of like cementing like Bruce Willis as like kind of the action hero. He's really good in this, and he's just got that kind of like he's confident without being cocky, if that makes sense. And he's like good. He's just a good main character to follow.
I like how he's just like unfazed by anything. It's so like subtle, the stuff he does. He's also really good at like dry sarcasm. Yeah, I enjoy Bruce Willis in this film. I haven't seen any of the sequels, but I've heard at least the next 2 are good. is what I've heard. So I think they're all on Disney Plus, or at least most of them. So I'll probably check them out at some point. All right, now categories, performances. Ross, where are you leaning to in this? I think like in Bruges, you're very tight. It's 3 people you're really looking at here. Maybe even 2 people. Like Ray Fiennes gets a bit of screen time or a bit more screen time towards the end. It's about Colin Farrell, who won a Golden Globe. That means nothing, but he won a Golden Globe for this performance, and he's really funny, and you still care about him. And also Brendan Gleeson adds a lot to the film as well. But Die Hard obviously establishes Bruce Willis as an action hero, and a different kind of action hero, someone who's not like Schwarzenegger or Stallone, who's just like built like a absolute unit. He's actually kind of vulnerable, like he's afraid to fly and shit like that. Like you wouldn't show these weaknesses in a character like this kind of before this film. And you also get probably a lot of people have the Hans Gruber as like the best villain of all time, at least in action movies, because he was just just a different kind of villain, a bit more intelligent, right, and less like cliche in how evil he is. He just wants to get his money, and that's about it. And he knows how to, or thinks at least that he knows how to do it. So yeah, performances, Ross. Where are you leaning to?
This one's actually really hard because, as you said, Alan Rickman is I feel like he's the standout one in Die Hard. Like in terms of performances, he's so good as that villain. And then Bruce Willis is so good as just being an action hero, and kind of, as you say, is not built like a brick shit house, but he's convincing in what he does. But I think within Bruges, the cast, they have more scope to be I mean, they deal with the comedy well, they deal with the emotions well, they deal with the action well. To say like Colin Farrell, although they're both assassins, and Colin Farrell shot a kid, but you like both of them still anyway, regardless of what they do. And I think that's
Fuck those kids.
Yeah, fuck the kids. That's what they've managed to do really well in this, and very likable. And obviously there's the scene with Colin Farrell putting the gun to his head, and then Brendan Gleeson comes up behind as well, but then he stops him even though he's about to kill him anyway. And it's funny yet kind of emotional at the same time, and they deal with that kind of, it's a weird tone to put, but they make it, they deal with that really well. And I think Ray Fiennes he's kind of just there to be funny, and he does that really well. He's hilarious in this film, I think. So I think, although I really enjoy Alan Rickman as Hans Gruber, I think in terms of those 3 being like all dealing with everything really well, and being the all-round performances, I think I'm gonna go with In Bruges.
Mate, have you seen Sexy Beast, the film with Ray Winstone?
No.
No. There's a Ben Kingsley performance in there. He didn't win. He was nominated, but I feel like Ray Fiennes is like riffing on a lot of what he was doing in that film. But it's funny, even like my favorite Ray Fiennes moment in Bruges is before he even arrives on screen. It's the really good scene with when he phones up. It's the whole bit when he phones up Brendan Gleeson, and at first Brendan Gleeson has to pretend that Colin Farrell's still in the house, and he has to do this whole like little bit to convince him that he's gone to the pub and whatnot and everything like that. This whole scene just plays out over like 5 minutes. It feels like the kind of mundane. It's the little mundane bits in conversation that Ray Fiennes does. Like, what are they talking about? But Brendan Gleeson's like, yeah, we went to Pizza Hut. They've got it here as well. He's like, oh yeah, globalization in it, or something like that. It's just the little offhand bits of like mundane conversation you wouldn't expect this evil. I don't even know what is he just like running a hitman agency? I don't know. I don't actually know what his criminal empire is. But yeah, I enjoyed that little bit of off-screen work, just voice work from him. But man, I feel like this would be a performance that would just rank highly in your estimation.
It's probably one of my favorite. I always like Ray Fiennes, like films like obviously the Harry Potters as Voldemort, and then Grand Budapest Hotel, and even Schindler's List. They're all really strong performances, but I think this one is just so funnily British as well, and that's what makes it so good. I think like films like this and Snatch kind of resonate more. I think probably Ross and you as well, Leon, will find that. So it's just funny watching him come across so well and so normal for someone who's kind of like quite an awful person. Obviously, he also gets like caught up in like the minutiae of like normal conversation and gets annoyed by things, loses his temper, and then like, but he knows that about himself as well when he apologizes to his wife. And it's just a funny, it's like he's definitely like, I don't know, yeah, it's probably one of my favorite characters. And probably the comedic relief without even, I suppose it's meant to be the comedic relief, but it's just him playing the character, and it just is funny because of his kind of like commitment to the character, and especially like the shootout scene when they're deciding when to leave the house, because he's going to go out the window and he's going to run around the side, so that's like kind of like a fair start, so they don't get the lady involved, and they're trying to decide when to go. That's just a funny exchange because you forget like they're trying to kill each other, but it's like, well, it's got to be fair, because it's just like best man wins, and he has that integrity to him. And I think as this film is more dramatic because you just allow for more talking, it's much less of an action film. Kind of any of the action that kind of starts is kind of resolved, apart from at the end, will be resolved quite quickly. So it's in the smaller parts of the characters' performances. So I'd say this film is stronger on performances because it's allowed to be, but it doesn't show any mistakes at all through those performances, I think. And then maybe in Die Hard as a whole, there are just a few parts of the performances that are a little bit wooden here and there, but still a good watch on the whole.
My favorite performance almost in Die Hard is not a good performance, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. It's the like smarmy, I think his name's Ellis, like his last name's Ellis. He's the one who tries to like pretend like John McClane is his mate, goes up to Hans. That whole scene is just so elite. His like confidence in that moment. It's like, yeah, I do my business with fountain pens, you do it with guns, all this kind of stuff. Hans, Booby, I'm your white knight, all that kind of stuff. His whole vibe in that scene. And throughout, he's just such a coked up dickhead business guy. And I really enjoy it, even though he's definitely not a good actor. I don't think he's basically done nothing else of note aside from that film. But In Bruges is 2-0 up after Ross and Matty's votes. Mason, what do you think are the better performances?
I think like kind of what May said. I think In Bruges is allowed to offer stronger performances, mainly because there's just more emotion in that film compared to Die Hard. But for me, yeah, I just think because in Bruges, it's all kind of just conversation. The entire film, it's all about like one-on-one conversations with people. You're allowed to actually see kind of development and actual emotion, and there's just a few standout scenes that we already spoke about that kind of amount to just having better acting all around. And although, like, I guess with Die Hard, you've got Bruce Willis, who's, you don't need to be like having an emotional scene just to prove this good acting. And I think he embodies an action film main character perfectly, probably like better than what I've seen before. But as a whole, I think for the films together, I think In Bruges kind of just has a bit more going for it. I think the acting really stood out for me watching In Bruges compared to Die Hard, where I was just like, okay, life's just maybe I could do that. I don't know.
I'm going for Die Hard. Not that matters at this point because In Bruges won, but I think the two leads just kind of changed the game for action movies. Obviously, Bruce Willis becomes a massive star after this, and Hans Gruber is just really unique. Plus, I enjoy the ensemble people as well. Reginald Van Johnson plays the cop who he's like chatting with on the ground, the one who gets the body thrown onto his windshield, and even like all the incompetent, like it was part of like the theme of the film, like the incompetent. First, the police chief who turns up and has no idea what he's doing, and then the FBI guys who are just a bit insane. Yeah, I enjoy them as well. All right, story. In Bruges is such a weird story when you just look at it. It's like Ray Fiennes decided, okay, Colin Farrell needs to die because he shot a kid. So I'm gonna give him a like nice little send off. He can go spend a few days in Bruges, and then be executed by Brendan Gleeson's character. And that's the synopsis here. It's just fun. It's just a funny idea. I wonder what inspired it. Whereas Die Hard, obviously it's an action film, but I think the marriage, the little tension in their marriage between John McClane and what's her name? Holly. I think it's Holly Gennaro. I buy in. I think that's a realistic scene at the start when they're having their little arguments. Like she's gone off to pursue her career in LA, leaving in New York. There's a bit of issues going on there, and I buy into that, and everything that's going on in Die Hard. Some of the other themes, the idea of him being like this, I think he's calling him a cowboy. It kind of feels like a western. He's like a cowboy fighting against the modern world. Like when he turns up to the Nakatomi Plaza and he's got to type her name into this like futuristic tablet and all this kind of stuff. I like all those details in Die Hard, but story. What do you think, Ross? What's better?
Yes, and neither of them have like particularly kind of big stories going on here. I think they're both just kind of there to be entertaining, and that's their main purpose. They don't need like big stories, but I think because as you said, In Bruges is kind of just they're going on holiday to Bruges, just so Colin Farrell can be killed, and then Brendan Gleeson doesn't do it, so Ray Fiennes has to come along and try and do it as well. That's pretty much the whole thing. But I think Die Hard, yeah, as you say, they've got the tension with the wife going on, and then him with his realization halfway through. You know, Hans Gruber, he has a reason he wants to be there. I think there's a nice little relationship with John McClane and Sergeant Powell going on as well, and their little meet up at the end as well is really satisfying. And even our Argyle in the bottom in the basement has his own little bits with trying to stop them, and you know, it's got entertaining, like the police guy, the guy that he's in the Breakfast Club, isn't he? He's him when he comes along as well. It's kind of adds different bits to the story which make it entertaining. So yeah, I think in terms of story, that neither of them are particularly like massive on the story department, obviously, but I think Die Hard steals that one.
You know, I forgot to say in performances that bit when Hans Gruber, when he encounters John McClane and tries to like convince him that he's an American and he's like in peril, like he's not who he actually is. And that whole bit, the way it dawns on his face, like he's just encountered him. Okay, what do I do? And he does this like American accent, which like is like really fake but really good at the same time. I don't know how he manages it. Like it feels like, oh yeah, that's the guy doing an impersonation, but also kind of felt real. Like, oh God, you're gonna kill me. Oh, like I don't know what it was. It just really worked. Yeah, I like that moment. Not that it links the story, but I just had to get that out there. Matty, what do you think? Story, what's better?
I think obviously Die Hard has quite a linear plot. Like these people, well, it kind of like unfolding like what they want. Obviously, they wanted money, but the way they were getting it, and they kind of like sub little plot of the problems with his wife. So it's kind of straightforward. And In Bruges as well is straightforward, but the way that it kind of gets a whole film from that kind of little interaction that just needs to happen, really. And the way you kind of understand what he's done, and the way Brendan, someone nod.
Yes, Brendan.
Yeah, Brendan. Cool. Just tell me, yeah. The way he kind of handles him and the way things escalate. I'd say the way it's handled is a lot better, but it's an unfair comparison just because it's an action film versus, I don't even know what In Bruges is. I suppose it's like an isolation film when you break it down, deep down. I can't really split it either way. I mean, if I had to go to the story I prefer, it's In Bruges. So yeah, I'll just leave it there, I think.
What did Ross vote for? I can't remember now. Did he say In Bruges?
Like Die Hard.
Oh yeah,
Die
he
Hard.
did. He did. So it's 1-1. Mason. Story.
I think In Bruges is an easy story to follow because it's just all about one main character. It's kind of, I guess, similar to Die Hard, but there's only about 6 characters in the whole film, and I feel like you get a bit of an understanding about each of them, and they do develop. So I think that's quite interesting for the story. But I do think Die Hard probably overall has a better story for me, just because I really enjoy just seeing the progression of everything going on inside, but then also, like you said, all the characters outside as well. And yeah, it just kind of I felt more fulfilled. I think by the end of Die Hard, I was just like, that was a good journey I just went on there. It's over, and yeah, it was more of a solid story for me. I think so. My vote is Die Hard.
Another thing I like about Die Hard, do you remember we were talking about when we were talking about Salt, how like Russians are always like how it's always like Russians are the villains in a lot of like Hollywood films. They're like some kind of spy or terrorist or just trying to perform some like the despicable plan or some nuclear plot or some shit's going on with them. But in the 80s, there's always like the fear of like Japanese people taking over America. They always like in these films they always like own the building or they're producing some like fancy new technology. And here you got the Nakatomi Plaza here in LA. Like I understand it's just like another little like wrinkle to all this is going on. I just love Americans where they're like paranoid about stuff. Yeah, cool. All right, what am I voting for? What is it now? Mason just said Die Hard says 2, and I'm also going for Die Hard because it's elite. Yeah, don't know. Visual style. Oh, this is the stuff I really wanted to talk about. I think that's key to Die Hard in terms of like you don't have that much when you're in the actual building. There's not a lot to work with really from like a directing standpoint. Like everything's like obviously really narrow and like contained, but you always know like where you are kind of in the building in these different rooms. Everything's shot really clearly. And I think they just make a really good use of the space. I don't know. I always like films like that when they're kind of like resourceful. Like you have a clear idea of everything that's going on, even with this like chaotic action that's going on, you know what's going on in this space. So, yeah, I think they use it really well in the Nakatomi Plaza. That's a big point for the visual. But Mason touched on the whole European city vibe. I really like that as well in Bruges. That kind of beautiful, even though then he's not having a good time. I just want to go do that. I just want to go to Bruges and just like go to these little museums and they seem like a really quiet capital city. I don't know if it's actually like that. These like lovely cobbled streets and everything like that. Going down on a little boat in the canal. There's all this nice stuff. It's hard to split. It's hard. You've been to Bruges?
Yeah.
Really?
Nice. Yeah.
When?
When I went to Brussels, we took a day trip to Bruges.
Hold on, Bruges isn't the capital. Brussels is.
Yeah,
no, it's
Brussels
not.
is the capital. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brussels is the capital.
I
went
why.
to Brussels for like 4 or 5 days and took a day trip to Bruges on the train.
What's it like?
It's kind of like it is in the film. It's
actually
quite cute, all cobblestone. Yeah, it's all like
I want to go there.
I mean, I can see why it's boring. It is quite boring. Like you just kind of go in to look at the cobblestones and bridges and drink some beer. But yeah, it's nice. There's not much.
What does he say at the end when he's after he's been shot and he's like in the ambulance? Like, at least I'm not in Bruges. Like, I think he was about to die. It's like, I'll go to hell. I'll go to heaven. At least I'm not in fucking Bruges.
Yeah.
That's nice. Well, Ross. So the visual style, what are you going for?
I like the way Die Hard is because it's at night. I think it's all the way it's all lit up and stuff. It looks quite cool. But I think Bruges, because it is like a quite like a cute little place, and it sets the tone of the film well. Like, I mean, the tone's a different category, but where it sets the tone of the film well as being in this boring place. You can see why he finds it boring, but you can also see why Brendan Gleeson and Rafe Fiennes love it there and think it's like a fairy tale, whatever they say. And yeah, I think just the visuals of Bruges itself and the way they are in like a cute little city and stuff. It gives the story and what's going on like a boost. So I think the visual style of In Bruges, just the fact it is in Bruges, yeah, it really kind of is the film, and that's why the film's called In Bruges, because it's all about Bruges, and you know, yeah, I think In Bruges has to win that.
Even though Ross has been to Bruges, when I go to Bruges, I would have been the first person to go to Bruges because that's how it works. Visual style, May, what do you think?
Obviously In Bruges is like a nice place, and the visual style just feels cleaner because obviously it's a more modern film, and then Die Hard's an older film. But I think I'd probably give it to Die Hard just for what it was able to achieve. I'm not acting like it's in the 50 years ago or anything. Actually, no, to be fair. getting there. But like what they managed to achieve and that through the action scenes and still get an idea of what's going on inside a building that kind of it's probably quite complicated and there's lots of different moving parts inside and outside and like through the elevators and like you don't really lose where you are and everything kind of makes sense and it's still like enthralling the way it's filmed. And I like the way, especially like a lot of the telephone scenes are shot as well. So I'd probably give it to Die Hard.
I like when he comes down. That towards the end of the film is when his wife's being held by Hans, and he because that's the other thing. Like you don't usually see like your hero in the film as fucking beaten down as Bruce Willis is by the time he reaches that point, and he kind of emerges. It's like he's in like it's kind of a silhouette as he emerges in that room before rescuing his wife. Yeah, I really like how that's shot there. Makes a visual style. What are you going for?
I mean, I said that I like In Bruges because obviously it's in Bruges and it's nice to be in a little European city, but I don't actually think it sells In Bruges to me as much as other films based in European cities have. Like I always just think of Before Sunrise as being like one of the most elite, which is where I want to go to. Is it Vienna? I think is it before? Yeah, that I've been, but it made me want to go again because I felt like they experienced Vienna in a much better light than what I did. And with In Bruges, I was just kind of like, like you could have done better there. You could have made me want to book this flight right now. And I think kind of because of that as well, I do just prefer the visual style in Die Hard. I like the scenes when they're in the like higher up in the building in the offices that aren't ready yet, and it's this really harsh, bright lighting that gets like turned on and off for those scenes and stuff like that. And I think they're more effective in using the set and kind of everything around them. Whereas normally when you're in these European cities, it kind of does all the pretty stuff for you and they're all nice visuals because it's just there. You're just using like real backdrops and everything. Whereas in Die Hard, they've successfully gone out of their way to make the visual style a lot more appealing. So yeah, Die Hard.
I'm also going for Die Hard, which I have done for all the categories. But there you go, it's an elite film. So that's visual style. So to Die Hard, 2 and up. Okay, tone is the next category. And you know what? I'm just going to say right off the bat, I'm going for In Bruges. Like what I said in my little introductory bit. It does a lot of managing all the different tones. It feels there's an emotional edge. It's really funny throughout. It's dramatic. There's something kind of poetic about the way it's filmed, especially towards the end. Even though I think it drags a little bit, that final little chase sequence and the way that all plays out, it might drag a little bit. But it really is an achievement. I think the way they use the different tones in Bruges is my favorite part of the film. So that's where my vote is going. Even a Die Hard, it's just to describe the tone, it's just a fucking banger. It's just all action, entertaining throughout. Maybe it's a bit slow at the start. Maybe you don't want that many scenes. Maybe you don't want the scene with his wife or as much time with Argyle. Maybe you just want to get straight to the Germans turning up, the Germans, and the real action getting underway. But yeah, anyway, In Bruges is my vote. What's yours, Ross?
Yeah, definitely In Bruges. If this film was a person, it would be like a really monotone comedian, and I think it handles that like perfectly throughout the film. That's like what it's trying to be. It's really funny because it's like this film. The way they talk to each other and stuff, it's all like just normal, and like all the conversations are normal, and there's like the action, a bit of action at the end, but there's throughout there's not like no one barely even. It's like an action film where no one shoots guns pretty much until the last like 10 minutes. So that's why it's really funny. Yeah, so the rest of it's just with them being funny. So all the different tones they use as well, as you say, like they got to deal with the emotion and deal with the comedy and deal with the action and throw it all in and put it within each other. Yeah, it all works really well, and that's all because the tone is so perfectly balanced, as all things should be, between all of them. So yeah.
Something else just occurred to me, not related to this, which is always fun. I feel like the way whenever a body drops from a building, I've seen there's like multiple films. It always kind of looks similar. So I don't know who did it first. Is it Die Hard? But it's kind of like, I don't know, where it spirals through the air and then hits wherever it hits on the ground. It always kind of feels similar. Like you get that in Die Hard, then you get Brendan Gleeson jumping off the church thing. I know what's it called? What's it called? They make a joke about it. It's like a really narrow to get up there. Can't remember something. Some kind of monument. But yeah. His like fall as well has that similar vibe, like spiral through the air, then like a sudden like, oh, you hit the ground. That looked really painful as well. I really hope I will just die on. If I ever have to do that, I don't know what situation I'd need to do that. But if I have to jump off a building, I hope I just die straight away when I hit the ground because that looked a bit long. Anyway, what did Ross just say? Did he just give it to In Bruges? Yeah, he did. Of course he did. And Matty's going to do the same, aren't you, mate? If you can unmute himself.
Yeah, I'm going to give it to In Bruges.
He sure is. Mason, what are you giving tone to?
Do you know what? It might have to just go to In Bruges as well. I think the tone in Bruges is better than the tone in Die Hard.
And if it's better, then it should probably get the vote because that's how it works. All right. So it's 2-2 now. Ooh, that's 2 episodes in a row where it's 2-2 going into the final category, which I just made up about 30 seconds ago because I forgot to do another category. And since it is the de facto Christmas episode, then what's the most Christmassy film? People actually talk about Die Hard as a Christmas film. In Bruges just happens to be set around Christmas time. But I don't know, what to you feels Christmassy, and that will inform if you think either of these films is particularly Christmassy. I guess Die Hard has a happy ending. But I don't know where that marriage goes from there. Like basically he uses violence to save his marriage. Is that going to be good long term? Don't know. But it's a happy ending. A Christmas song plays at the end as well, which will add to Die Hard's case here. In Bruges, is there anything, I don't know, is there any Christmassy apart from the snow, like Mate said? Is there anything else Christmassy that you feel in the film? I don't know. I can't think of anything right now personally, so I'm going for Die Hard. But Ross, does In Bruges have a case here to be the most Christmassy?
I think for the most part, both films are just kind of the film, but then every now and then they mention that it's Christmas. But then I think Die Hard is a Christmas classic because I say like it has the happy ending and it has the Christmas music at the end, and it's more within the Christmas spirit, I think. In Bruges, Colin Farrell's is really like negative in it, and that's not the Christmas spirit, is it? But Die Hard is about a hero. He saves the day. It's all Christmassy at the end. It's all fun. Everyone's back together. He's made a new friend. So yeah, I think although Bruges is a more Christmassy kind of scenery, Die Hard has like a happy ending and a Christmas spirit, as they say. Die Hard is the film.
He makes a good point there before that burp. That when Christmas, you don't think of LA when you think of Christmas. Like, come on, like it's got to be some kind of wintry atmosphere. I even so there's something about the urban nature parts of Bruges as to their Christmassy feel as well. So there's a point in Bruges' favor. But I think ultimately, Matty, as funny as it is, murdering kids probably isn't that Christmassy. So less so than murdering terrorists. Well, not terrorists. They're not even terrorists. I like that part in Die Hard as well. How they use the front of being terrorists when really they just want money. And they have that bit where he makes up these like the Asian Red Dawn terrorists and the Chicago 7. That's not actually what it is. That's just that film and those people. But then he just makes up like a list of terrorists that he wants releasing just to buy some time. I like that bit. But yeah, mate, Christmassy in Bruges. It's hard for In Bruges to compete here with Die Hard, isn't it?
I'd say In Bruges definitely looks Christmassy, obviously because of the scenery, and it's like it'd be a nice place for it to be Christmas. But yeah, I don't think anyone thinks of In Bruges as a Christmas film because it's so isolated. So I'd probably I'd give it to Die Hard. And it's just colloquially decided. And I feel like if enough people say it is, then it is, whether it actually is or isn't. I feel like that's how the world works.
Yeah, this is a really dumb category, really. because it's going to be Die Hard, and it's not really anything to say. But it's fun to talk about anyway. Mason, are you going for Die Hard as well?
Yeah, Ross has done it for me. Basically, he really hit the nail on the head there, talking about how all of the little kind of stories and the meanings within Die Hard are what you typically find in a Christmas film, like the idea of family, the idea of like helping people, this romance rekindling, everything like that. It's all there. Terrorists, everything you want, your little Christmas film, it's all there. And when you put that all together, you get a Christmas banger, basically. Sorry, not a word, banger.
Not a fucking terrorist though, Chris. All right, Die Hard wins it 3-2. Okay. Don't know, what are we doing now? Are we doing a game? Is that what we're doing now?
I mean, I don't know actually. I was trying to think. Maybe we could play the game, but then we have got Secret Santa.
Yeah, it's gonna be a very long episode, but I'm not too bothered.
Yeah,
I'm not too
shelf
bothered.
the game. We'll shelf the game for next.
Yeah, we could shelf the game actually. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Play a
Shelf-
bit of the game,
shelf.
the bit of Secret Santa.
I've quite literally shelved it. Yeah.
Shelved it. Elf on the Shelf.
You've heard of Elf on the Shelf.
So what now? This is Ross's bit anyway. I'm not even hosting. Ross owns this bit. Even if it's not a game, he still owns this bit.
Yeah, but it's Mason's doing the game this week.
But we're not doing a game now.
So we're not doing the game.
Not doing the game. Oh, right.
You're not just...
I thought we were doing both.
He just
Sorry.
said that.
I was indulged with him in my dinner that I just wasn't listening.
Stanley.
All right. Secret Santa then. So, me and Matty worked out who everyone has, but
So you find it funny how that tone of voice just feels right. It's always like at the start, it's like, okay.
okay. Yeah, you have,
Okay.
you have to solve every category like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, click to spin. Let's go. And it's coming up. It's gonna land on. Yeah, it's Leon.
So I open it first.
Yeah, you open it.
Stand up.
We'll stand up. I'll be away from the microphone. You have to hear the crackling of the cardboard or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's true.
So these are both Secret Santa. These both of these. So one is sunglasses. I feel like they're gonna be comedic sunglasses or something. Maybe not. Maybe I'm just joking too much. Can never take things seriously. There might just be a nice pair of sunglasses.
Puts them on. I don't get it.
Yeah. Oh, that's actually very nice, you know. What the hell? Didn't realize we were going to be this thoughtful.
All right, not in a hurry.
What? Did it get mad? It's great podcasting. It's great podcasting.
Are they just decent sunglasses?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Decent.
And what is this other thing? It's a mask. Is it a gorilla? Wait, what? Oh, is it hair? Wait, what? Yeah, it's hair. Is it? That's like it's like a Mohican. Is that Mohican? Is that what it's called? Yeah. No? Don't know.
I'll see both on at the same time, actually.
This is confusing. Which way does it go?
I put the sunglasses on.
Is that the right way?
The skin tone color match is perfect. Is it?
It's seamless. That is.
Yeah, honestly.
You talking to me?
Oh, taxi driver for the listeners who are still listening to this. We have listeners in the Philippines, by the way. They're probably so confused right now.
You're talking to me. Is there not a delivery like it says you're talking to me?
Wait,
Did you not see it? Was it not
Wait.
delivery? It's, what's it? In the it's like a gift bag and you can put a message.
I think here. You talking to me from dot. That's what it says. That's funny.
That's not anymore. You're talking to me.
That was just the whole journey of that. Like, where's this? Sunglasses? How'd I put this on? That was funny, yeah. That really worked nicely.
Why are you taking it off?
The Robert
Huh?
De Niro party.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, it is. Yeah, that's gonna be funny. Right, next. I have no idea who sent me that. There's better be anonymous.
Oh yeah,
No.
next. I know, but I had to explain it.
Thanks
Next
for us. I mean,
Next is
Santa.
Matty. It's Matty.
So I have to be honest. My mum messaged me like a week ago, and she goes, "You got a parcel?" I said, "Okay, who's it from?" She says, "It doesn't say who." I was like, "Okay, open it." She opened it and then sent me a picture of what it was, and I was like, "Well done." And then she says, "It says Secret Santa on the packet," and I was like, "Why did you open it?" And she said, she thought it was a promotional thing. So I knew what this was a while ago, so I'm not going to fake a reaction right now, but actually I really do like it, and I think we should all have one of these at some point. Let me just open it up.
Oh,
It's like those unboxing videos. They do.
the Corona Cinema T-shirt.
That's it.
Oh, nice. It's actually
I'm
good.
very happy with this.
We
I'm
can never change the logo.
probably never going to take it off once I put it on. So
That's sick.
Let's put it on. The last T-shirt you'll ever wear.
I am carrying a bit of holiday weight.
Matty's naked. Yeah, one of my dodos.
There he is.
Oh, lovely. Fits perfectly. Fits like a glove.
Free marketing.
Nice.
I assume that's from Leon, so thank you.
Yeah.
Nice, well done. Good
Next
gift,
is-
good gift.
Next is me. Okay. Fantastic. Okay.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Have a look. Very nice wrapping. I like the bow. That's sick.
Dwight Schrute's Gym for Muscles.
Sorry, trying to trim for muscles. I like that. I'm gonna
That's
wear
really
it.
good.
I'll put it on right now as well. Actually,
Well, I haven't got a T-shirt to put on.
I have to go around
I'll
the corner.
put it on right
I have
now.
a feeling I might have a t-shirt to put on in a sec.
That's it's a rectangle. No, it's a cuboid. No, what shape is it? What shape do you call that?
Woo,
No,
it's a
Same
cuboid.
words.
Is it a cuboid? Yeah, it's a cuboid. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
it?
Cuboid's an irregular cube. Yeah.
No, I thought a cuboid was a 3D rectangle.
No, a cuboid's a six-sided shape.
That is a rectangle.
It's a 3D rectangle dick.
Huh? Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why it's,
Oh,
it's a
nice.
cuboid.
Oh, it fits nice. Fucking
Dunno.
hell.
Is it a quadrilateral prism?
Do you like it?
Oh yeah.
That is nice.
Mason.
And very nice.
Thanks, Mason.
What?
Well,
See Dulcie dropping it off earlier. I
Did she
made her knock
actually?
on the door. Yeah, I've got a video of her sprinting around the corner and running back inside.
I knew it was you because Matty was Leon's in Hull and Matty was at my house.
It's so annoying. So in the group chat when Matty was like, I'm gonna come over, I was like, I was gonna be there till the podcast episode, so what am I supposed to do?
that's really funny.
Ross was looking at me, couldn't tell if I'd planned that as a ruse to come over, and then
Yeah, I was
make
like,
it
oh,
look
have
it
you got your
wasn't me.
pencil? I was like, no, definitely, yeah.
Oh yeah, that would have
Right.
been good. That would have been good.
Right, spin the
Yeah.
spinner.
All right, I'll spin it. Spinning.
Oh,
And it landed on.
is he frozen?
Mason.
Nice.
No, it took that long to spin.
It's like in a Champions League draw when there's only like one team left, so you know who's going to be, but it's still have to do
Yeah,
it.
and they just got their hand
Oh,
like.
and they still
shoved
roll the
around
ball. They still roll the
Yeah.
ball around. But unlike the Champions League draw, we're not going to have to repeat this because someone forgets to put a ball in, or wherever it was the other day. Oh my!
I think I know.
What is it?
I think I know who got me this. It's a really good present. It is a very good present.
What is it?
I already have
What is
one.
it?
You
Is
already
it-
have one.
Is it the same? Is it the same one?
It's the exact same one. Yeah, the top 100 movies.
That's so funny.
That's so annoying. Well, at least, well, damn it.
The funny thing is, last Christmas when I got this, I actually re-gifted it to Leon. So Leon now has the poster.
Yeah.
So at
And
least
then I gave it
have
to Matty.
You
And
have
then
your
he gave it
own
to you.
one now.
I have my own one now. Is this the same poster from last year?
Yeah, if it kept just circulating, that'd be funny.
Good man, I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Sorry, I didn't realize you already had one.
No, I don't have one. That's the thing. So at least I have one.
Okay, decent.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Great,
nice.
great podcasting.
Yeah, good one, guys. I'm glad everyone could see what we were opening as well.
Yeah, sure. Kind of forgot about what's happening next, isn't it? This Spider-Man. I haven't decided what I'm gonna do. I haven't seen it. So
You don't
don't
want to
wanna-
get spoilers, though, surely.
No, but I already know. I
You
know
haven't
stuff.
seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen it now
Why not?
because I don't want to pay for it.
You work in a cinema, man.
Yeah, we're not allowed to watch it for free because it's so busy at the moment. So we've got to wait until the numbers die down.
Well, you're gonna have to mute us while we talk about it then.
No, I'm just gonna listen. I don't care. I don't really care. It's a
Nah.
9.1 on IMDb right now. What the fuck?
Not that good.
Honestly, don't listen to it.
No, I've seen like I did a screen check the other day and I saw Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Like I don't really care.
Spoilers.
But it's still spoilers. Like loads of stuff happens that's just so good.
Nah,
I'm
yeah, I'm
not-
not really. I'm not bothered. I'll just stay on.
Fair enough. Your choice.
Do I want to host it or do I want to sit here? I don't know. No, I'll host it. No, Ross can. I feel like there's too much. It's not like Eternals. Eternals, because I haven't listened to anything about the film. Eternals actually knew stuff about the film, so I could like kind of guide the conversation. I know nothing about this apart from those two people appear in the film. That's a good scene though. Saw like a minute of it with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. That was like first it cuts to Tobey Maguire and it's like really emotional. It's like I lost. It's when they talk about the people they've lost. I thought that was a good scene. But yeah. So Ross, you want to take over and just like guide this conversation about Spider-Man?
All right, cool. Now.
Yeah, now, yeah, right now.
Right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, let me read the IMDb synopsis first. Spider-Man No
yeah.
Way Home. With Spider-Man's identity now revealed, Peter asks Doctor Strange for help. When a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. Go. He's eating. I'm eating.
You've thrown this on me and now I'm confused. All right. Yeah, so Spider-Man No Way Home. Matty, I know you're a fan. You're a Marvel fan. Are you caught up with the series and everything? Are you caught up with everything?
Yeah, I'm very, very caught up. I think in the build up to this film, I didn't know that it wasn't confirmed that they're all in it. Because I feel like it was, even though it wasn't actually confirmed anywhere, but I just felt like it was obvious. So I watched all of the Tobey Maguire, all of the Andrew Garfields. Then obviously I'd seen all of the Marvels already in preparation for it. And then I was kind of like, what if they kind of did the old prank and they just weren't in it, or it was like a to be continued? But I'm pretty sure they only had the film rights for this film only. So I was pretty sure that wasn't going to happen. And I'd say you can't really recommend this film to someone who hasn't seen. Well, you'll still enjoy it, but they won't really understand a lot of it, and they won't really get the references. And I think this really it's probably one of the best Marvel films I've ever seen, which is hard to say because I've never gone to the cinema and been disappointed with a Marvel film. I say Ant-Man and the Wasp was the most okay Marvel film I've seen, and it's still quite good. But because of how new the film is and how newly I've watched it, at the moment, it's the best Marvel film for me. It's so strong, and I can't really put into words. Like I cried 3 times. I think that's how good it was. It's fucking sick. I'll probably talk about other bits as you bring them up. But
Yeah, I mean, I watched the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield films, all of them in preparation as well, and I think there would have been absolute outrage if those two were not in this film, people went to see it and those two weren't actually in it. Because I think you can kind of, there's all the villains. Obviously, they're going to throw Andrew and Toby in it, but I've since Endgame, I haven't heard like a cheer, a roar in the cinema like when Andrew Garfield first popped on that screen. It was amazing. And Mason, I know you haven't really enjoyed Marvel as much since, you know, Infinity War, Endgame kind of time, but has this reignited anything? How do you feel about it?
I'm a bit conflicted, to be honest. So the film itself, I really enjoyed, and I mean, I don't think it's perfect, but I do think it's one of the more stronger Marvel films I've seen recently. I mean, I'm kind of trying to catch up a little bit at the moment. So I've now watched Shang-Chi. I quite like that. I soon watched Black Widow. I saw Eternals a bit later on, whilst it was in cinema. But this felt like the most refreshing to watch again, but also the most like, I say refreshing, but also the most like classically high quality Marvel that I think I've seen in a while. And I think Tom's performance great. Zendaya's really good in this as well. Doctor Strange is okay in this. I think I feel like I need to rewatch Doctor Strange to kind of understand his character again, because I feel like, because I've pushed myself so far away now in my head from kind of the Marvel films and everything like that, I didn't really relate to it all that much, and I didn't actually go back and watch the last five, no, was it seven now? Last seven Spider-Man films in preparation. So my hope was to kind of watch those again, and I think for me it's gonna be really important to have a rewatch to this film. So my plan is to maybe go rewatch it tomorrow, just to kind of take it all in again and kind of make my mind up on certain things, because I thought it was so good in compared to the Marvel films I've seen in recent like few years. I kind of need to just double check because I'm kind of in doubt that I enjoyed it as much as I did, basically.
Yeah, and you did kind of touch on the performances there. I think this is the best Tom Holland performance we've seen. I think the other two films he's just like a kid, but this one we see him mature in a way where he has to deal with more emotions and kind of more than we've ever seen before, you know, with when he has to deal with Aunt May dying and trying to like kill the goblin and what that kind of stuff, deal with those emotions. But I mean, there's a whole huge ensemble in this film, and pretty much all of them we've seen before in their own movies. But Matty, what did you think of the performances then? Do you think anyone stood out? Do you think anyone was better than they were in their original films? What do you think?
I think all of the performances here stepped up a level, especially Zendaya. I felt like the writing for Zendaya in Far From Home was very, very weak, and they just made it look like a giddy schoolgirl, which was annoying because even though she had far less lines in Homecoming, she felt a lot more sophisticated in that. And I like that they've kind of brought her more into an adult here, because like, she's going off to college and like she's not like a child. Like she can deal with like high pressure things, and even just in the normal conversations, they improved her character a lot, which I liked. And the same with Tom Holland. He's like really maturing, and I like the idea that had this like huge loss that has to happen in the Spider-Man's life to become Spider-Man. And it's kind of the same thing that Into the Spider-Verse talks about as well, with Miles Morales and all these other people have to deal with that same thing. So I like that. It's a little bit samey, but I don't care. I really like that part of the film. And in terms of performances, all of these performances are really good. I think at the first, Doc Ock looks a little bit kind of comical, but then he comes back and it is nice to see him kind of regain himself. But Willem Dafoe puts in probably such a solid performance in this film. And it is, I don't know, it's like almost Oscar worthy, if that makes sense, as Marvel go. Like if like anything was going to get I don't know, I think he shone more than like Iron Man does in his films for like the caliber of acting. It was so good. And like the way Peter kind of picks up his like spider sense in the room and he can tell something's not quite right. And that shift, that was so good. The cinema was dead silent while that was happening. It was such a powerful moment, and that was really good cinema. And I think there's parts of like a lot of the recent Marvel films that have come out that are meant to be big and powerful and moving. They're just not really. Like Shang-Chi was nice, but I just kind of feel it's a bit like unbelievable that there was just layer upon layer of these powerful organizations, and it's just, I don't know how many like world-ending events can there be, if that makes sense. It just feels like it's not been alluded to before. And they just don't really hit as well. This really hit really powerfully, and I really liked kind of every aspect of this film. And it had so many opportunities to be really cheesy or really corny, and it didn't. Like, it played on the nostalgia perfectly, and then built on news stories rather than like continuing to play on nostalgia, if that makes sense. And everything ties together really well. And yeah, I need to watch it again, like Mason says, to like decide if I know I like it. I just want to watch it again, to be honest. Yeah, I just can't really. There's only one problem I have with it, but I'll see if you guys have the same problem with it or not. And that's just more of kind of a logistical thing about the film. Yeah, Willem Dafoe, mad.
Yeah. I'm seeing it again on Monday. I've already booked my ticket. I can't wait. I really enjoyed it. As I say, like the energy within like the fact, when we saw Endgame, it was like there's people cheering, when Cat picked up Mjolnir, that kind of stuff. This was the same, that kind of energy when Andrew and Toby popped up on the screen and whatnot. But because this film has such a huge ensemble, there's obviously a lot of characters, a lot of stories they have to deal with. I think sometimes that meant, Sandman and Lizard, they took very much like a back seat within the film. And they gave a lot more time to Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Electro. And obviously they redid Electro in a way where he looks completely different. The energy, because they used the reason, I think it was because the energy is different on that, and they're part of the multiverse. And I think Benedict Cumberbatch, they kind of Spider-Man, Tom Holland's one, he trapped him in the mirror dimension for a lot of the film. Then he kind of came back at the end when they needed him again. So yeah, there's things like that. And Mason, how do you think they dealt with that well? Do you think each character deserves the amount of time they get? Do you think they get the right amount of time? I mean, obviously Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, quite understandably, they come quite late on within the film. But yeah, how do you think kind of balancing all the different stories, all the different characters, because there's a lot to deal with here? Do you think that worked well?
I think, yeah, when it comes to that, I think they prioritize perfectly, where you're not introduced to the other two Spider-Men until probably just before halfway through the film, which is correct because it is Tom Holland's film at the end of the day. And when it comes to the villains, they choose the more interesting villains anyway. Like, I think Sandman is quite interesting, but again, it's probably been many years since I've seen the original Spider-Man film. But having Electro, I mean, to be honest, Electro wasn't all that fascinating in the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but I think just because of the actor, it makes sense to have him as a more prominent figure now. And then having Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin, obviously because I haven't went back to rewatch, it was just kind of crazy just seeing like the development and how interesting those characters are compared to new Marvel villains. And that's when I was sitting there like, oh my days, I need to go back and watch the originals, because this isn't anything unique that they're doing now or like reinventing the character. This is how they were 10, 15 years ago. I kind of forgot where I was, to be honest. But yeah, like I was saying, I think they balance everything out really well. And that's, I think, one of the key benefits, I think, of this, not benefits, like one of the strengths of this film that I kind of experienced in my first watch was having that really, it was just I didn't really question anything as it was happening when it comes to the balance of all the characters. So I was just like, that makes sense. And considering how big the ensemble is of this cast, they handle it very well. I think I never felt kind of like overwhelmed. It's like, God, why is there so many characters? Or that person's not getting enough time. It was all just a strength of Marvel's, basically.
I think we have to talk about that ending as well. I think it's a very, very huge step for Marvel to take, for everyone just to forget. I mean, I know obviously May's not around anymore. A lot of the villains, pretty much everyone else in that film, apart from Ned and MJ and Happy, have gone, but none of them remember him. It's hard to know what direction, not just Spider-Man, but like Spider-Man within the MCU and his character and what they're going to do next with him, because I think he's signed on for another 3 films or something like that. So it's hard to know what direction they're going to take, but a very, very bold ending. So, Matty, what are your thoughts on the ending? Do you think it was a good ending? Satisfactory? What do you think?
I like the ending in the fact that Marvel's now having films that have consequences, if that makes sense. Because they'll have like Iron Man 1, 2, 3, like, and just go through all of the Avengers films. And at the end of it, the whole cast is still alive and nothing's really changed. And they kind of started addressing that. Oh, we need to have the Sokovia Accords, and then every now, well, they barely ever killed anyone or had anything that lasted longer than another film in terms of like permanent consequences. So it's nice that this, like, his actions do have consequences, um, and that kind of ties the film together. And if they left it there, I'd be really happy. And half of me kind of wishes they do, because that's just such a beautiful end to like tie it back right to the start. Um, I'd still watch what they'd bring out next time, and Tom Holland as Spider-Man is really good, and it's kind of nice how he's basically put that first and is everyone else's safety first. Like, it's dead, it's like proper dead for him, but if anything, it goes back to kind of like what the original Spider-Man were always worried about, which is like the identity being found out and then that putting everyone else they love at risk. So I don't know, it could be really interesting to see where it goes, and I think there's a lot of room to progress Tom Holland's character over the next few years.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well with this film. It really did progress his character, not only with the ending, but just throughout the film. With this film feels more like the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield ones in terms of tone, because it's so much darker. I mean, Far From Home and Homecoming, they're both very light-hearted, very cheery. Tom Holland's like a kid in them. And I think they're very similar in what a lot of people seem to rate them on the same scale. But as I say, with this one, it's dark, it's emotional, a very different feel to the other two. And yeah, Mason, do you think that pays off? Do you think the way it feels pays off? Because as I say, it's very, very different to the other two. And it's very, as I say, very different. And yeah, what do you think?
I mean, yeah, when it comes to the ending, it's kind of similar to what Mate says. With a lot of Marvel films, you want them to be like, okay, just finish there. That's nice now. Like, that's a perfect end to a character's arc. Him just kind of like trying to introduce himself back again to his friends, and then understanding, no, this is like the right thing to do. I'm going to let them just kind of carry on. I don't know about anyone else as well, but when Ned walked in, I thought he was about to lips MJ. I thought they was going to be in a relationship. So I was going to be like, oh my days, this is like peak betrayal in the last 2 minutes of the film. But yeah, I think it's annoying basically, because I like how it ends now, but that isn't the end. That's just like, that's where we've left off with Peter, where I know that in the next film we're gonna have to kind of address this, and it'll either be handled really well or it won't. And that's kind of where I'm a bit worried, I think, with the ending, because like you said, if this was just a nice trilogy that you could look at, it'd be really fun. It'd just be a nice way to finish, but it won't be. So like I said, it's kind of up in the air. But it feels like you kind of grow with Peter Parker as well with this trilogy, because you finish this one, you notice that he is older. Like, he does not feel half as much of a school kid, and you only get reminded of that really when they're applying for college and everything like that. But other than that, I think because they always kind of comment on his experiences, and like, he says like he's been an Avenger, everything like that, it's grown him as a person at a much quicker rate than what a normal, like, how old is he in this film? Probably like nearly 18. Yeah, like it works really well. So I enjoy the ending. But I mean, we spoke quite positively about the film. Was there anything that anyone didn't like? Because there was a few things I didn't like, or I didn't think worked. But yeah, if anyone else wants to comment before I do.
Yeah, well, I found it's funny to argue about plausibility in a film with wizards, but I didn't like how Peter's just said, well, Maguire just said, oh, I'd been thinking about what's his name for a while, Green Goblin for a while, and then just came up with a cure, which is fair enough. But then he just made the cure in like a school lab, which I found was a bit dumb, just with the chemicals that he found, like as if he didn't need any biological agent or anything like that. And then the same for Andrew Garfield, who also came up with the cure for lizard with just like hydrochloric acid or something stupid. Like just had like a bunch of stuff from a school. Like when the actual thing was made in like a lab, um, in the Amazing Spider-Man 1. So that bit I didn't really like. I'm sure there's some other things. There's nothing that really like shouted out to me immediately, but I'm sure if you mentioned a few things, Mason, I might agree or disagree.
So the thing I think didn't work the most for me was Aunt May's death. I don't think it was effective kind of at all. I think it was just kind of there to develop Peter and to give them all a common understanding, and so we could have that scene near the end where they're like, oh, you know, we've all lost someone, but we've learned to deal with it. Like, you try and get revenge and it doesn't work. Like, so you get that kind of storyline. But I think her actual like death scene just wasn't very effective for me at all. I think it was much more I think that was supposed to be like the big like killer point in the film, like strong bit of emotion. But to me, it really wasn't there. Like having this scene where she's like, oh yeah, I'm okay, and then she kind of like shows where she's been bleeding. It's just it didn't feel anything interesting to me. I just kind of saw her die and I was like, okay, like it wasn't, it done nothing for me. And I'm hoping kind of on a second watching, I might be able to be a bit more kind of emotionally involved in it. And I'm not too sure if the only thing that kind of took me away from that was the audience, because this was another big thing with me, which is nothing to do with the film. It's just, I guess, probably more Marvel fans in general. I enjoy scenes. Sorry, got lost my voice there. Getting really worked up about this. I enjoy it when we look at like Endgame and Captain America picks up the hammer. Like no one knew that was going to happen. It's insane. But when you hear the crowd scream when like Andrew Garfield comes on or Tobey Maguire, I don't really get it. Like it's cool, but it's just the way how crazy everyone goes and everyone's clapping at any kind of big point in the film. I was just like, just watch the film, man. Like, or when it's stuff you see from the trailer, I'm like, why are you so gassed? Like, you've seen this before. I've seen this already. But yeah, I think the biggest takeaway for this film for me was that I didn't rate Aunt May's death. But yeah, I feel like you two are probably going to disagree, and I reckon that's probably when Matty cried in the film as well.
I thought it worked fairly well. I mean, I know what you mean. If I thought it would have more of an emotional punch, but at the same time, it's like it was okay. It was okay. Yeah, it was. I think you've touched on the bad points. Like, there's not really many else I can think of, to be honest. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and what I really enjoyed as well was like, you know, the dynamic between everyone. I think when the two other Peters come on the screen, there's the three Peters. They have three dynamics together. They work really well as like a trio and interacting with each other. And like when all the villains are in Happy's house, they're all together and they're interacting with each other as well. I think I really enjoy them. Everyone's just interacting with each other, and everyone gets their own bits. Everyone gets their own parts. So yeah, I think overall it's pretty positive about this. But just really to say, before the film, I was like, Matt, because me and Matty watched it together. I was like, no, you must see a Doctor Strange trailer for Multiverse of Madness. He was like, nah, and then it didn't come on before, and then it was the post-credit scene. So, Matt, are you excited for that? Are you excited?
Yeah, I am excited for Doctor Strange, but not as much. Like those films, like kind of the magic side of it's okay, but I only really like it when it's like a plausibility, so that you can have a film like Spider-Man No Way Home. To go back to what Mason was saying about Aunt May's death, I don't know, like when it happened, I almost liked it because Green Goblin's talking about this is like a what's it called, like an act of revenge, basically, like it's always going to be paid. And then you see his glider come up behind the window, and I'm like, oh, that's good, because that's like he's like using the same move that he would have used on himself or on Peter last time. So it's like, at first I was like, oh, it's so cringy that all these people are saying the same things that they say in other films as callbacks. But when you think about it, you repeat the same things you say in the same conversation to different people all the time, because that's kind of like who you are, and it doesn't feel repetitive. So it makes sense that he would do that and they would say these things. But then when the glider didn't like stab through her, it kind of like glanced at her. So it's kind of like, you know, she's going to die, but like neither of them have noticed yet. And you're waiting for it and waiting for it. I can get, they can't, if that's what they meant to like leave the suspense there of you knowing she's going to die. And then you think, oh, it's not going to happen. Then she does. But then I just felt that it kind of misplaced it. If I can get what Mason says, like it just like you thought then it wasn't going to happen, then it does happen. It's just a bit like, but what I did like is like how then all that grief was then realized on the roof when his friends came down and hugged him, and then he just like burst into tears. Like that's when it got really sad. So I liked that scene when he started to then process what had happened, and then the other Spider-Men try and start to help him through it, and he's like, "No, you don't understand," and then it's like they do. I feel like the actual death scene could have been handled better, but everything that afterward was good, and I like the dynamic between all the villains because obviously they all have completely different motives, and obviously Jamie Foxx is probably the most villainous, if that makes sense. Obviously Green Goblin can't control what he does, but Jamie Foxx just wants to kind of like just be powerful, be seen, be known. The only one that wouldn't really make sense is like kind of like Flint. Flint.
But Marco the Sandman.
Yeah, that one. He just wanted to go home, and then when they sent him back without his powers, like he's just going to get caught by the police because he won't be able to get away. He'll go to prison, won't be able to get the money for his daughter, and then his daughter's going to die of leukemia or whatever. So that's a bit peak. So when they sent him back, they probably could have given him like $1 million in cash, just like look after your daughter kind of thing. But I don't know. Yeah, they're my only real thoughts. My only grievances about it.
Okay. Is there anything else anyone wants to add?
I was just gonna, if we're finishing, I was gonna ask who's everyone's favorite Spider-Man now after this film. So obviously now we've seen 4 films with Toby, and then about the same with the other 2 as well. So we've had a nice amount of screen time with all 3. So what does everyone think? This film cleared up to me entirely. Like obviously I haven't gone back to rewatch, so maybe when I do that I'll probably change my opinion. But watching this film on its own and not seen the others probably since they were released, maybe, or like since I was a kid when it comes to the original 3. I know man is no. Oh, sorry, I thought someone was gonna go. Okay, fine. I wasn't holding off on that suspense. I think my favorite is definitely Andrew Garfield. I think he kind of stole the screen entirely in this film. His kind of like charisma and energy just felt perfect for Spider-Man, I think. And I just don't know what it was. I was just watching this whole film. And I was just like, yeah, you just seem to be the best. You're just presenting yourself as the best kind of Spider-Man. And he had, for me, probably the most emotional scenes that was just so short and so quick, but it was like the delivery that just worked for me as well. So when he saves MJ at the end, and she's like almost just died, and he saved her life, and then she looks at him and he's like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." Stuff like that just works really well. And it's just, although his films aren't the strongest, I think they get quite a lot of stick as being bad when they're not actually that bad. But seeing him in this and having a direct comparison to the other 2, he stole the show for me, definitely.
Me and Matty kind of spoke about it after we watched the film that it was our favorite, and I said then that Andrew's my favorite as well. I think the film does get their sticks. I mean, the second Amazing Spider-Man, I can see why. The first Amazing Spider-Man is one of my favorites. I think probably maybe my favorite. I mean, apart from the new one, I need to rewatch a new one. I need to think about it. But minus the new one, I think the Amazing Spider-Man is probably my favorite anyway. But like, yeah, as you say, he gets his emotional moment in this film, catching Zendaya. You know, I think Toby's emotional moment was meant to be when he rekindled with Doc Ock and they were friends again. That kind of stuff. They both got their moment. But yeah, I think Andrew, although Spider-Man's meant to be like an awkward nerdy kid, and I think Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland do that better in that kind of way. Andrew Garfield's a lot like cooler and a lot more charismatic, but it kind of steals me in that sense that I enjoy him on my screen more and I notice him more, and I find him like, yeah, more like charming in that way. And Spider-Man's not meant to be charming and charismatic, but when I'm watching the screen, I see Andrew Garfield doing that. I enjoy it, and that makes him my favorite Spider-Man as well.
I would say Tom Holland's a good Spider-Man, and he kind of has a good blend of both, but also brings a lot of originality to the role. But it's kind of, I feel like it's, I don't know, because you have you have Tom Holland, who's like, he's kind of starting to just get into what it means to be Spider-Man, and he's just gone through his main trauma. So he's like very early on, and then Andrew Garfield he's kind of halfway through being Spider-Man, and he's like it really like externally like really like cool and like composed and like cool quips and everything he says, and he's just like he's too cool to be Spider-Man, but he's got a lot of like huge self-doubt and like he's saying to like the other two Spider-Man, like I'm just terrible, like I'm the worst, I fought a lizard and nearly lost. Basically, you two like you've been to space and fought aliens and stuff. So like he can then learn a lot from Tobey Maguire, who is like he's done it all. He's finished it. Like he's had his struggles. So and he's made it. That if that makes sense. But I think I just prefer Tobey Maguire because he only acts cool when he's Spider-Man because he feels like that's what Spider-Man should do. But he always does the right thing. And then when it comes to real life, he's very much a person who just gets stepped on by everyone. But his closest friends do know the value of him being the nicest person ever, basically. And something Tom Holland said was like, Spider-Man's superpower is Peter Parker because Peter Parker will always do the right thing because he's like the most honest and caring and like courageous person, basically, and self-sacrificing. And you start to see Tom Holland become completely self-sacrificing in this film. But I think that's something that Tobey Maguire has done right from the start. There's something else I was going to say, but it's gone now. Oh yeah, and the films as well. From a film standpoint, I really do. I really do like the Amazing Spider-Mans. I just feel like the villain choice when they got to the end of the second one with the new Green Goblin. I think that was a character you shouldn't have tried to redo. I think that annoyed a lot of people and then got rid of the third film. And then the Rhino just kind of felt cheap. I feel like they could have taken it in other directions because Electro was such a strong character. But still, the films are very good, and he's the most entertaining Spider-Man to watch, to be honest, because he's just so slick. But Tobey Maguire, those films are just so brutal. Like the Green Goblin, he kills like 15, 30 people in that film. And like you see them die, like get vaporized or blown up or stabbed, and then the way he kills himself, his death is gnarly as hell. And the way he just brutally breaks down Peter Parker in that fight scene. And then also the same with like kind of the hospital scene with Dr. Ock as well in the second one, where he just murders all of the hospital staff. I feel like back then it's just like such like a level of intensity to something that's just like a comic book kids thing, really brought in and like made way for a film like Iron Man in 2008, when you could really have like a superhero that's linked into weapons dealing and Playboy and terrorism and just everything through there, just kind of cements it in the real world. And I feel like those films gave birth to basically every other superhero film that's realistic, if that makes sense. I feel like Superman doesn't even touch close to what the Spider-Man films have done.
Well, Leon, you can answer this one as well, because you've watched the 7 other Spider-Man films. Well, who's your favorite Spider-Man?
Andrew Garfield, just because he's the best actor. I was watching Amazing Spider-Man 2. Actually, no, I watched both back to back actually the other day while I was playing Football Manager. So I was like half watching, half playing. But in the second was really bad, like it just is. But I really like it at the same time. And part of the reason, or the main reason, is Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are just like insanely good and just too overqualified to be in a film like that. Like it makes no sense. I'm like, why am I so like compelled by these two people in this dumb movie? But it's just because they're just unbelievable actors, like top 10 actors in the world, if not even top 5. So yeah, that's literally the only reason. He's just an elite actor who's better than those films. So yeah, love about Andrew Garfield.
I think I'd say I'd agree with Leon there. I didn't really think about it that in terms, all the films have something that they're good at doing. And I'd say the Amazing Spider-Mans have the most convincing chemistry between Gwen and Peter, because that just doesn't really happen in either of the other films. It just doesn't really, I don't know, it's okay in the last one.
I really hate Kirsten Dunst as MJ. I don't know why.
Well, I don't know. She's a good actress, but I feel like the chemistry doesn't really fit between the two. but yeah, the chemistry in the Amazing Spider-Man is insane, and it just works so well. And I suppose it's half down to them being extraordinary actors.
The other half is probably them two being in a relationship at the time as well, to be fair.
Yeah. That's everything, isn't it? And is there anything else anyone wants to say?
Tom Holland looks too old now. I saw like one scene. The scene, other scene I walked in on. So I walked in the scene with the other Spider-Man talking, and the other scene I walked in on was it was him and Zendaya chilling on a roof, it's like an overhead shot of them lying down. I don't know at what point. I think it's probably early in the film. I feel like there's been no drama yet. They're just like settled. Oh yeah, they're talking about him being. Oh, they're talking about him because obviously he's out in the world now, and they're like, I think they say like he convinced MJ to be his girlfriend through like some wizardry powers, or that's the joke, some stuff like that. Yeah, that's kind of funny. But yeah, he just looks so old. He just looks like a man now. So I don't like that. It's not as fun anymore. That was his strength as a Spider-Man. Was he just felt like the most teenager. But now he just looks like a man. So I didn't enjoy that as much. Yeah. I also saw a funny tweet the other day about Tom Holland. It was like, yeah, he just kind of got forced into our lives as a famous person. It's kind of true. Like he's not like the other MCU people where he had like a previous history. He just came. He was no one, and then he was Spider-Man, and we just have to accept that. And now he's just like one of the biggest stars in the world. It's just kind of funny. And like we'd have a choice. We didn't get to choose if we like him or not, or to try and make him a star. He just became Spider-Man, and that was it. He's gonna be here for the next at least 10 years. I'm interested to see what he does outside of Spider-Man. There, don't know. I have no idea if he's a good actor or not.
Because you said he looks old. I'm so glad they're done with the kind of school and college stuff. I mean, Zendaya and Ned have gone off to college, but I assume Peter won't. And I assume they're done with the school and like that kind of stuff now. So that's good. I'm on what he's 25 now, I think, and it's come to an end. So I think we're all probably glad that's there's only so far you can go, like certain TV shows and stuff you watch where they all just look like too old to be at school because they're taking the seasons too far and that kind of thing. Yeah, so in that sense. But I think we could we're done now, aren't we?
The only other thing really quickly as well was Daredevil. We're obviously introduced to Daredevil in this film, which is quite unique because the actor they choose for Daredevil is the same one from the Netflix series, and that isn't actually in the MCU. And I remember when Disney Plus was announced, they said that all the actors from the Netflix series won't actually be in the MCU because they're making their own series instead. So they've chosen to bring, I forget the actor's name, but he's a really good actor, and I think he's really good at playing Daredevil. So it's gonna be weird if they address that you need to watch Daredevil for it to correlate with how where his character is at the moment. So yeah, that I feel like that's something they definitely do need to address because it's so mad the impact that Marvel has. Because I looked at top trending on Netflix like yesterday, and Daredevil was there, and I was like, they've not released a Daredevil season in a few years now, like a fair few years, and suddenly it's in like the top 10 trending on Netflix already. So yeah, everyone's obviously trying to understand and catch up.
I liked how kind of like, what? Oh no, all right.
That's because I'd say anything else, and it's happened like 5 times.
All right,
I'll just let everyone speak.
Nah, mate, end it. I'm done now. Thanks.
Oh no, go on. I'm interested. I want to hear. I'm enjoying this.
Better than you just saying, I think it's a funny film at the start. That being
I was thrown. All right.
I like how natural Daredevil was in that film. He didn't feel forced at all. It didn't feel like a cameo. He was just there, and it just worked naturally. And I'd like to see more cameos like that aren't kind of like painful to see. Like when David Hasselhoff was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, it kind of took you out of the scene from it. It's like, that's David Hasselhoff. And he even smiled at the camera basically before he carried on and said his line. So yeah, just more from that. GG's, please.
Yeah, I like that as well, actually. You're right. All right. Leon, do you want to outro us?
Yeah. I'm also gonna watch Far From Home this weekend. It's on BBC iPlayer now because I was waiting. That was the one thing I haven't watched from that I haven't rewatched from Spider-Man because I couldn't find it anywhere for free. And I knew they were showing it on Monday on BBC, but it's actually come on iPlayer early. So go watch that. And then I'll watch it. I reckon, I don't know, what, 3 weeks? Is that when crowds will start dying down? Spider-Man, I don't know. It's still don't know quite how big this film is quite yet. It's obviously very big, but I don't know. Yeah. At Corona Cinema on Instagram, at LeonWait98 on Twitter, Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Stitcher, Podbean. This was a long episode. Next time, I reckon we're probably shorter. So we're not doing any we're not doing a head-to-head. It's doing something different. Did we? I don't think we did like top movies of 2020 because there wasn't really any movies in 2020. So I don't even know. We didn't really do an episode in that style. But now we're gonna do top 5 movie moments from 2021. If it's more interesting to like zero in on a specific scene or something in a film rather than talking generally about it for a few minutes. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do, and then talk about is this film bigger than Spider-Man? I'm not sure. It's probably it's in the same ballpark. I think The Lost Daughter, Maggie Gyllenhaal's directorial debut on Netflix. Yeah, I feel like it would have made more if it's obviously on Netflix. If it was in cinema, would it make more money than Spider-Man? I reckon it'd be close. Yeah.
Yeah, make a good 1.5 billion or something like that.
Yeah. If Spider-Man's making 250 mil this weekend alone. Yeah, I reckon The Lost Daughter could compete with that. But anyway, that's going to be the main review. Until then, go well.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.